question that we're asking here on Newsnight today is, does the open war in the Samajwadi Party change all political equations? That's the big question we have for you in Newsnight. To answer that for us, we have with us in our studio political editor of the Deccan Herald, Mr. Shekhar Iyer. Thanks, Mr. Iyer, for joining us here. A surprising move. You heard our correspondent also talking to us about how surprising it was. But now all eyes on Akhilesh Yadav and the kind of move he's going to make. But what kind of a political change or the scenario are we going to see in Uttar Pradesh politics?
Well, there is a state of flux. As your correspondent also said, there is a lot of tension also. Now, in fact, the announcement, the way Mulayam Singh ji went about making the announcement, that itself, because initially the focus was on Ram Gopal Yadav, his brother, his cousin brother. But then suddenly you heard him say that it is Ram Gopal Yadav who had done all this, but he is also misguiding his son, and the son is getting misguided. Is spoiling the future, there are acts of indiscipline. Then you suddenly saw Mulayam Singh actually say that he has expelled his son. Now, nobody expected the situation to deteriorate so fast. Because all along it was thought that there is a lot of posturing going on. And finally, both sides will ensure that they do not go to a situation where they have to split. But today, evening's developments have completely changed the way the things have picked up momentum there. Because after today's development, because all the eyes, as your correspondent said, is on what Akhilesh Yadav is going to do. Now, will he keep a window open for some kind of a patch-up, or is he going to straight away go about setting up his own thing? Because now Akhilesh Yadav feels the number of MLA supporting him are much more in number compared to those backing Shivpal Yadav. But Mulayam Singh ji, as the towering Samajwadi Party leader, has his own thing. But with this kind of open father-son fight, it raises a big question about what happens to Samajwadi Party's own electoral base. Because this is
and what is the kind of messages is actually sending out to the cadres and the kind of loyalists that we've seen where Akhilesh is concerned, the kind of meetings that have been called, what really happens next, and the political career of Akhilesh Yadav, what does this really mean for that?
Well, you see, what Akhilesh was actually, there are several things which have brought to this situation. One, Akhilesh was looking for, since he feels that he commands more of the youth supporters in his party, that
trying to clean up the politics of
he
Uttar
could
Pradesh.
also form a kind of a front in which he preferred some kind of an alliance with Rahul Gandhi, the Congress party. He feared some kind of alliance with Jayant Chaudhary. But we saw, but that was something which Mulayam Singh was not approving. In fact, the talk of alliance, and then Mulayam the other day announced that Samajwadi Party will fight. There is no alliance. I mean, he even announced candidates for more than 273 places. So that left very little room for Akhilesh, because Akhilesh's idea was a build-up could be made for an alternative to the BJP by forming some kind of an alliance. But that didn't work. Now, the big question is, see, the family they say blood is thicker than
water.
Anything, so they can come together. But what happens to the cadres? The cadres are now divided completely in the middle. You have people who are backing Shivpal Yadav, who has managed to have his elder brother on his side. And you have the young people who are supporting Akhilesh.
But who stands to gain most from this split that we've seen in the Samajwadi Party?
Now, if this split goes, definitely the loser is the Samajwadi Party itself. And whichever side even tries to work out an alliance, not going to help. I would see a gain for the Bharati Janata Party. Because BJP has been watching on the sidelines as to whatever is developing. One, this kind of split will confuse some of the die-hard voters of the Samajwadi Party, essentially those OBC classes. And then what happens to the other the minority votes who have been always backing Samajwadi Party? Now, will they shift to Mayawati? Or will their votes get split between Samajwadi Party, between the two factions? Now, all this definitely brings some kind of cheer to the BJP, because BJP has all along been saying that this whole thing is family feud, has been going for too long. The development has suffered. Akhilesh Yadav might have tried to, improve the image of his government by a slew of announcements and campaign. But in effect, the people of Uttar Pradesh have suffered. So definitely BJP's campaign is bound to get a big boost following this development.
But reaction that we've seen from other political parties pretty much muted. Everybody just keeping a wait and watch approach right now.
Yeah, they are all wait and watch because nobody want to appear to be, jumping the gun. Rather, they would want for the things to crystallize before they can actually plan the strategy. Already we are hearing from the Congress as well as from other parties who are keen for an alliance with Akhilesh Yadav that they would go with Akhilesh, come what may, rather because since Mulayam had already ruled out an alliance, they would prefer that Akhilesh somehow can consolidate his position. And also, since he is able to, it is believed he commands more than 180 MLAs on his side. Perhaps the next question is, who is going to be actually be in that position as Chief Minister? Because Mulayam Singh just said this evening that the party will decide who will be the Chief Minister, which means whether the Samajwadi Party can even be in power till the election, because that is also a big question mark now.
You know, but we saw this uneasy truce for the last couple of months in the whole Samajwadi Party. And today when this announcement came, it was still as a big surprise for the people, for the father, like you heard Pankaj Pandey said, unprecedented for a father to actually expel his own son from the party. And then what kind of a message is it really sending across, and the whole political scenario in this whole big scheme of things, what does it mean?
Now, you see, Samajwadi Party has largely been built on the person of Mulayam Singh. And over a period of time, Mulayam Singh himself is to be blamed that he reduced that party a party of his family. So therefore, factions developed along those influential family members. So therefore, today you see a scenario where when there is a single throne and there is a problem within the ruling family, you have a scenario where the father has to expel the son. If I were to draw a parallel, say what was happening in the DMK in Tamil Nadu, Karunanidhi had problems with his son Alagiri. So much so at one stage he had to quit the UPA government here. But even till date, Karunanidhi has not actually expelled Alagiri, though Alagiri has been sidelined. But at the same time, he has not been able to make his second son, Stalin, a successor. But here is a different scenario where the father has actually expelled the son. I mean, this itself is, I have never seen a situation where so directly the father and son are in conflict.
But when we're talking about, in these family-centered parties and the kind of reaction that we're seeing also, do the parties also really break up? And then when we talk about those elections, what could we be seeing here when we're talking about the kind of role Akhilesh could be playing here? We talk about the rebel factions within the parties itself. What could be the big scenario looking at the upcoming elections in Uttar Pradesh?
Now, if it all depends on how much of strength is Akhilesh able to gather within his party, and from whatever reactions we are seeing this evening on the Anis Marg in Lucknow, you're seeing all his supporters out on the streets, and a lot of them are young people. Okay, he could be commanding a lot of young votes, but finally, when it comes to distribution of ticket, picking candidates, then you have another new factor, because you will have the parent party or the party which is now in the control of Mulayam Singh Yadav, or more precisely under the control of Shivpal Yadav. Right down the split down the line will affect in every constituency, because you will have people vying for the tickets and then turning rebels. So it's a quite a confused situation for the Samajwadi Party, which could benefit Samajwadi Party's rival. And among rivals, the BJP stands to gain, because this is a situation seems to be coming on the platter, because till such time Akhilesh is able to actually, take that momentum forward, there is a big question mark.
And then what about Shivpal Yadav and the kind of role he'll be playing in this whole thing?
You mean Akhilesh?
Shivpal Yadav.
Now, Shivpal Yadav, well, his only goal is to prevent Akhilesh from becoming Chief Minister again. Because, you see, when somebody has a negative agenda, because Shivpal is not looking at a scenario where Samajwadi Party can again come to power minus Akhilesh Yadav. His strategy is very simple. Akhilesh Yadav should not become Chief Minister again. Now, if that agenda is on, and he has sufficiently worked behind the scenes to ensure that the father is very upset with his son. Now, can Akhilesh Yadav, assuming that this is the current level of equation till the elections, which means there are going to be more bloodletting, more accusations and counter-accusations. Now, can Akhilesh Yadav withstand a campaign in which Mulayam Singh would be speaking against his son? Can in a state like Uttar Pradesh, where family traditions are steeped in, a kind of values where a father campaigning against his son or a son campaigning against his father, how much of it can finally gel with the voters? Because that's a big question. Because it's not easy you climb onto a stage and attack your father, or the father has to say that Chief Minister, as today he was mentioning, he didn't take Akhilesh's name he didn't call him as much as his son, as much as the Chief Minister who is on a path of destruction. Now, with these kind of words coming from your father, I think Akhilesh has a very tough task on hand.
Okay, Akhilesh has a very tough task on hand. We've talked about that the BJP could be the biggest gainer in this whole scheme of things. What kind of a role is BSP going to be playing, and then their chances in these elections with this split that we're seeing in the Samajwadi Party?
Well, Mayawati has always been looking for that chunk of support which Samajwadi has enjoyed for more than 2 decades. That is the support of the Muslims, who constitute more than 15% in that state. So therefore, she'll be looking at a scenario where the Muslim voter tactically decides, since he may not be in a mood to support any other non-Samajwadi party and would not willing to vote for the BJP. I mean, we are making an assumption in this. In that case, he would perhaps tactically choose the BSP. And Mayawati has always looked at a winning formula that would include her own base of Dalits plus Muslims, and perhaps she would also think of putting up more Brahmin candidates in the hope of getting the Brahmin votes, because Brahmins too form a good chunk of votes in Uttar Pradesh.
You know, not just with this expulsion, but Mulayam Singh actually upped the offensive, saying Akhilesh deserves stricter action. What kind of a message has he really sent across, not just to his son, but to the other members in the party? And, remember when Ram Gopal Yadav has called that meeting on the 1st of January, and Mulayam Singh has actually said, warn people from attending that as well. So sending out a very, very strong message to others in the party as well.
Well, you see, when Mulayam started his his press conference, the way he went about saying that this is an act of indiscipline, it is an act of
going against the party
and act of a betrayal of faith, in the sense that he says, I did for my son which even Pandit Nehru did not do for Indira Gandhi. He said no political father has ever done for his son, as straight away, after an election just anointed him as Chief Minister, which I did. I mean, this is a very serious statement. If Mulayam Singh, everybody thought till today that whatever Mulayam Singh was doing, whether it was, though it appeared to be a little harsh on his son, that he had a soft corner for him. And that eventually he was posturing in a manner that would even bring a bad name to Shivpal Yadav, his brother, and help his son. But today, the manner in which he has attacked his son looks like he has withdrawn his affection for him. Now, that will not go down well in the large Samajwadi Party family.
All right, Mr. Iyer, we'll leave it there, but thank you so much for joining us here on Newsnight today.
Thank you.